I'm going to call to order the regular meeting, College of the Redwoods Board of Trustees for March 3rd, 2026. Would you please join me in the flag salute and honor the oath together? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would like to share the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that College of the Redwoods is located on the unceded territory of the Wiyot, Tupa, Karuk, Atoll, Palawa, Laki, and York people, where they have resided from time immemorial. We encourage all to gain a deeper understanding of their history and thriving culture. As an expression of our gratitude, we are genuinely committed to developing trusting, reciprocal, and long-lasting partnerships with the Wiyot people, as well as all of our neighboring tribes. Okay. Public comment. Do we have any public comment?
There are none.
We will move on to board member comments and board business. Are there board members who have comments they'd like to share?
Did you want to do the committee report?
Member comments is first.
No, sorry.
Trustee Pedrosa.
Okay, on February 17th, I listened to the government relations webinar. I just wanted to mention that they said there's a building pressure in the state for baccalaureate degree programs at community college. 80% of California voters agree baccalaureate degrees should be offered at community colleges. The same was mentioned at the trustee conference that we attended in January. And it looks like our lawmakers want this to happen and they're keep pushing for it. So it just is a positive. Thank you.
Any other member comments? Trustee David?
Thank you. I too listened to the government relations webinar. What caught my eye, or not, I guess I should say my ear, is would rather us talk about the term, use the term investments of education rather than the cost of education. You know, focusing on we're making an investment in our community and in our students and in our workforce. And I thought, you know, that was an interesting way of rephrasing it, focusing on our investments, not our costs. On the 4th, which was right after our last board meeting, I listened to the Chancellor's Office webinar, and they were talking about their transition from code, the way they code, I don't know if it's finances or courses or whatever, TOPS to CIP.
Courses, yes.
And how the TOPS system was developed in 1979 and nationwide in 1980, there's this CIP, that they're trying to have some uniformity across the country with course numbers. And I thought that was quite an interesting discussion. And then on the 28th, which was Friday, I listened to the Chancellor's Office Institutional Effectiveness webinar on AI. And one of the programs I featured was Lansing College, and how he's an AI fellow, and David Johnson is his name, and he is using AI for their IT department to help in the students who need password resets, finding Canvas programs, how to connect to Wi-Fi, answering Canvas questions. So they kind of have a 24/7 service available to students because of they call them AI agents, bots that they've set up. I thought it was brilliant. Thank you.
Anybody else? Well, I would comment that I also attended government relations webinar and also picked up on the VA discussion. I think a current proposal is saying that a community college should be able to do a VA if an area CSU program has been impacted in that area for 3 years. And so that's a specific way of trying to set up criteria for when it would be appropriate. And mentioned that there are 5 California State Universities campuses at which all of their programs are impacted. So that's not our situation, but there is a continued push on how to work management. Also to mention that the Legislative Analyst Office and the state's finance department do not agree on the budget. They do not agree on anticipated revenue for the coming year, and the state's budget is built on what the finance department thinks. So we'll see how that goes, but it's such a process. On the 18th, I attended the presidential search town hall on the Denmark campus, along with Trustee Doran, our consultant, and our human resources director, and it was really was a good discussion. Several faculty members were there, and virtually all of the staff. It's very good. On the 24th, we attended the Zoom planning meeting, and then just this weekend on the 28th, all of us are here attending for the board workshop on the certificates. Okay, now board committee reports. Trustee Pedro.
The President's Evaluation Committee met after the board workshop on Saturday. At that meeting, the committee that consists of Trustee Biggin, Trustee Matthews, and myself discussed which evaluation tool would work best. We decided on a survey. We're in the process of constructing. As per board policy, we will meet with President Flamer to discuss the evaluation process after this meeting.
Thank you. Trustee X.
The board evaluation committee, which consists of Trustee Mullery, Trustee Biggins, and myself, met just prior to this. And going through the same process, we reviewed the AP and BP that are relevant, we discussed the process and went over the survey instrument. We decided to use a survey, and we kind of revised that. So I think we have that document in place, and the plan is to conduct the survey probably in April, again, according with our policy, in April after the President's Evaluation survey. That's it. I think that's it. Is that right?
Yeah, that's good. Let's make sure that we just say that it's Trustee Doran or committee.
I'd like to update you on the presidential search process. My co-chair, Dr. Mullery, and I have been very busy at this. And the overall view first is that we are on track. We're right on track with the schedule that's been printed and is available for everyone's viewing. The board met last Saturday for a workshop. I have to say it was a very robust conversation. We covered a lot of ground. We looked at the job description and approved it. We also looked at the presidential profile and discussed a few items. And then the data that will be going out on March 9th for potential applicants. We made some minor changes according to the direction of the board. One was the start date. We had planned on December 7th, but we decided to make that negotiable just so we don't lose a potential candidate. We also just rearranged some items that instead of being they just went in different columns, and we removed numbers instead and put bullets in instead of keeping everything going. So as I mentioned, we are on track. The website will be up and running on March 9th, as well as HR sending out or making the announcement of the job opening. The applicant review committee is in place, and we have our first meeting scheduled for March 9th. I believe that everybody is able to make that meeting. So we're going with that. And the other thing that we learned at the workshop, which those of us that don't do that many interviews, is the names of the candidates will be removed for the applicant review committee. And then at the initial stage of the interview committee, once the interview committee selects the candidates they wish to interview, the names will be put back in place. Dr. Mullery?
No, I think you covered just about everything. I too want to say that I thought our meeting on Saturday was really an excellent meeting. So we really appreciated everybody's engagement in this very important process. Regarding the redaction, the only thing I would add to that, Trustee Jordan, is the names be redacted as well as any kind of gender identifying. So pronouns will all be redacted as well.
And then I did want to mention that yesterday, Dr. Mullery and I had another meeting with our consultant, Will. And the one thing that we discussed, the board had mentioned it a little bit, we did rewrite the closing date for applications. Originally, it was a hard close date, and upon, I think, Dr. Mullery's recommendation and Will's, we went with that it will remain open until filled. Although if you miss the initial closing date, it's not sure you'll be able to get back in the whatever, how you phrase
So
that.
that'd be like.
Well,
a
it's-
first review date.
Right.
Yeah, there will be a first review date, and that's hard. But let's say an application comes in the next day, or some dribble in later. If we determine after that first review date that we do not either have an adequate pool, or there's no one we want to move forward, then we will essentially reopen the search. And those applications that came in after the deadline would then be considered. So an application comes in after the deadline, they will not be considered in the first review, and they may never be considered if the first review promises to be very, positive in terms of applications. So, and that's not an unusual way of approaching these types of searches. So,
And then yesterday with Will, we went over the strengths of the college, and we actually discussed the rodeo program quite a bit. We'll be adding that. We discussed the farm, and of course, the athletics came up. And so Molly Blakemore is working on not a script, but writing that into what every applicant, a potential applicant, will see online.
Thank you. So I just want to comment to all the trustees that the president's evaluation search will go out April 6th and will be due by April 17th. So watch for it and don't forget about it. Even if you have to, that's really very important. The second thing is I take every opportunity to thank Trustee Dorn and Trustee Mullery for their work with the search committee. Like it's taken a lot of time and thought and really acknowledge their role. Anything else? If not, we're moving on to 3.4, approved trustee travel. Approved trustee travel, the CCLC 2026 Annual Trustees Conference, Friday, May 1st to Sunday, May 3rd.
I move approval.
My second.
Okay, any discussion, question? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Next, is pursuant to the board governing policies, the election of members of the CCPT board of the league will take place between the 10th and 25th. There are 9 seats, 6 incumbents. Each governing board has 1 vote. Only 1 vote may be cast, and as you see, our action item is to recommend authorizing trustee Biggin to cast a vote for each of these seats on our behalf, which we have done as a practice for a while.
I so move.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, 3.6 is to amend our board meeting dates, times and locations for 2026. And that attachment is in your agenda. So we are moving the April 26th board meeting to the Eureka campus, and changing the start time of the July 26th board meeting from 1 to noon. That meeting will begin with a closed session, and then we will, I believe, plan the open session to begin at a fixed time at 1:30. This also changes the September 2026 board meeting from Klamath Trinity to government. The motion.
Move for approval.
I second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion, any question? Trustee McFadden.
Could you clarify when the next time is that we would meet at Klamath Trinity?
I believe what we were planning was April of 2027.
Okay,
So same academic year, no?
Yeah.
no, You know, so it's just all had to be
Okay.
moved forward.
sounds good.
All those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. This brings us to item 4, consent calendar action items. Any board member may remove an item from the consent calendar and place it under discussion with a separate vote. Is there any trustee Muller?
4.2.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, then I would like to hear a motion to approve, excuse me, consent items number 4.1 and 4.3 through 4.8.
I so move.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on those additional items? No, or we will vote? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now, item 4.2, trustee Muller.
Thank you. I just want to clarify for the record that in the personnel actions, specifically item number 6037, we have just approved hiring an assistant coach by the name of Jack Rice. I want to talk about it for the record. That is not trustee Jack Rice, even in this saying, because as we all know, that would be against all sorts of codes. Trustee may not want to be on the law. So for the record, it's a different Jack Rice.
How can there be two?
I checked.
Thank you. Yes, I noticed it. Any further comment on 4.2? Would you like to make a motion to approve 4.2?
Sure, I knew that we approve it.
I second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And that brings us to our action items. First of those is to approve the monthly financial status report. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. President Flamer?
Thank you very much. I think I'll have Vice President Morrison just give an overview and I will jump in to add some information.
Thank you for the opportunity to do some review live on the monthly financial status report. I guess I'll talk about the adjustments that we made specifically to the student center funding formula revenue. As you can see in the background, we are aligning the numbers there for state apportionment, property taxes, enrollment fees, and the property EPA for the most part with what is in the period one apportionment report. The period one apportionment report is based on the most current information that they have as far as the enrollment counts and then supplemental and student success metrics go, and then spreading out available resources system-wide. The assumption we're making on the state apportionment, the dollar amount is assumed currently. On the monthly financial status report, we have listed to 23.48 million coming from the state for general apportionment. However, as mentioned in the background, there is currently a deficit factor. So what we're from the chancellor's office, there has been some guidance related to the deficit, and they are telling us or signaling that the deficit will be close to zero at the time the recalculation report is published in February of next year. So administration is, I guess you can say, banking on that. And typically the deficit does go away, it just takes time, and we don't know exactly when it will diminish to zero. Another thing that I mentioned in the background is that, and this is more on the cash flow side, is that even if the state, does have the full support or full resources to fund or skip revenue, there is a planned deferral. So our payments at the end of this current fiscal year won't actually be coming in until next fiscal year. So that's just a timing of cash flow. So we will be monitoring that. Other than that, I don't think there's much really to highlight, but I would be happy to answer any questions.
Trustee Dorn?
So what you just said about the money coming in after can you close the books then?
Absolutely. What we do is we go
Okay.
to receipt.
And, okay, so there, and then you can start the audit as
Correct.
well. That doesn't go on hold.
And we've been doing this for a few years
Okay,
now.
I just want.
And this isn't good for us.
Right.
If I may.
It's just.
That's okay.
Oh.
Trustee, well, she can go first.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, so with the cash flow, then is that going to disrupt anything?
What we do is we continually monitor in advance to see if for some reason at some point in time we'll be not at deficit, but we'll have a very low cash amount. And then we can work with our financial team and do a TRAN would be a possible solution, short-term borrowing.
Borrowing like from reserves or somewhere else?
No, it would be an external borrowing. We can rely on reserves, but this would be taking reserves into consideration. We look at all of the things, but the external solution, if we depleted all of our internal, would be to do an external financing.
Thank you.
Trustee Morris? Vice President Morrison, I always appreciate your memo. And I especially appreciated your discussion of total computation of revenue. Otherwise known as TCRs, and thank you for spelling it out. But I was trying to make sense of that from the standpoint of the actual statement. And I'm assuming, and I just want to check, that the total computational revenue is reflected under the estimated year-to-date adjustments for total state. Am I reading that correctly?
Correct, that very top section under the SCIF revenue and total state, what is currently budgeted for 25-26 with all of these adjustments is the 43.522 million. That is our current TCR.
What did you say our current TCR was?
43.522 million.
It's in that second paragraph.
Oh, got it. Thank you. It's just a weird word. And well, if I may, just one quick question that I'm sure you can explain, but caught my eye, and that is, how do we have interest at 458%?
In that particular year, I think part of it has to do with the challenges that have passed but that we had years worth of the books not being closed on the county side. And so we were way behind in actually having our interest accrued in a timely manner. And then trying to do catch up from that. And then also because of that, not having a good sense of what our interest might be. So what had happened is we under budgeted the amount in that particular year, and that's why you see that 457.9%.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Dorr?
So I was thinking maybe an explanation of what we're talking about with trans for the new trustees.
Exactly.
I'm very much familiar with that. And then if we did go out for trans, in the past, we've always gone along with some other community colleges. In this case, do you think the other colleges will be in the same position and go out for a trans together, or we'll be on our own?
I would doubt that we would be on our own.
Because if I may,
Yes.
if the state is going to defer to all community colleges, then it behooves us to go into the trend with our sister institution. So the interest is there. We have done this before. So this a trend is always in our pocket. We never want to pull the trigger on a trend, but we always have that available, so our employees are not jeopardized if the state is slow in paying. And you will also, I also want to point out something that I heard Matthews mention at the beginning is that there is a battle, so to speak, between the Department of Finance and everyone else about how much revenue is expected. Right, so we actually don't really know until probably July, the earliest, or maybe in September when the state finally passes its budget. So we're trying our best to use assumptions, but not go overboard where if the assumptions are not realistic moving forward.
And TRAN stands for,
Tax revenue anticipation note.
and we have used them before, and it is just a cash infusion process, and then your cash comes in. All right, if there are no further questions, all those in favor of approving the financial report, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Now we're on to 5.2, second read of board policies and administrative procedures. This is a second read. They're attached. I want to thank Trustee Rice for his thoughtful further revisal and revision after our initial policy committee discussion, which followed Trustee Mullery's suggestion about broadening the wording from trustee. And then I thought that Trustee Rice's wording was really well thought out. Are there any questions? Oh, thank you. Are there any questions or further comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. That brings us to informational reports. And 6.1 is recognitions. President Flamer.
This is, as always, one of my favorite reports to talk about. If you have any questions, feel free, but I do want to point out the fledgling CR Chronicle newspaper. We have talked about this as an institution for years, about starting a newspaper. And one of their faculty, but there are two students, and the one student, Chegna Sidhu, that you may recognize from. She is also the applicant, the review committee, and also part of my club at 7 a.m. She and her sister are just wonderful CRM students. And so without them, and of course our faculty members, then this wouldn't be happening. And follow up to that, I did ask Vice President Morrison to explore bringing back journalism classes to really have a long-term support for students. It's been, I don't know how long it's been, but it's been like about 15 years or more. Since we had this. So we really want to take a more support long term for that. That is it for this particular item. Any questions?
All right, that brings us to 6.2 grants update. And our manager of college grant initiatives and programs, Morgan Solomon, is here. Thank you.
This is on. Yep, perfect. All right, everyone. Good afternoon. For those who do not know me, Morgan, the manager of college grant initiatives and programs here at CR, and I'm excited to provide you with an update of some of the activity that we've engaged in over the past year. Thank you. So today we're going to focus on a few different areas. First, we're going to take a look at some of the highlights from the past year, and then we're going to review the activity since the last time we've met, and then I'll provide some information on partnerships and different collaborations that we've engaged in, and then talk a little bit more about how we're building capacity in the department. All right, so lots of pictures here. So over the past year, we've been able to make some major updates to many of our career education classrooms and labs. We were able to improve layouts and make it more accessible for both students and instructors through adding adjustable height and ADA accessible stations. And then with the help of our maintenance staff and some outside vendors, we've also been able to dramatically improve instructional space for programs such as automotive technology, welding, and fire technology to help accommodate the growing class size and instructional functionality. And I'll have some pictures to show you of these transformations in further slides shortly. In the top right corner here, you're going to see a picture with two welding students, and they're in one of the new Fab Lab booths that we started building out last year, and they're working on pipe welding jigs that'll help students learn how to do pipe welding in various positions that are some of the more difficult types of welding that are out there. And then kind of in the middle towards the top, you'll see students who are working on these are work tables that'll be used. We're going to build 5 of them for various stations in the fabrication lab, where students are going to be put into teams and then create projects. And that will start in the fall for that Fab Lab course. And they're working on different instructional desks and things to hold manipulatives within the new classroom. So we've also been able to accomplish some major infrastructure upgrades, specifically regarding the internet access in the applied technology building, where we have new fiber internet connection ran throughout the building to improve existing reliability and improve access for additional devices that have been brought to that building. We've continued forward on the career education training facility, which will house our electrician training program and act as a lab for various residential construction techniques. Here's a picture of the most recent drawings down on the bottom there. And then in collaboration with our Career Center and Adult and Community Education Department, we regularly meet with our county workforce development partners. And additionally, we have collaborated internally with Contract Education to provide certification access to our students, and as well as with our K-12 partners, which I'll go into further depth in a future slide. And then through our CAL FIRE grant for the KT Campus Forestry Field School Pilot, we've been able to procure 2 10-person vans that have been utilized for field trips to help reduce the burden on students for transportation. And this past summer, we were able to run an FNR 46 Tech and Applications course out at the KT site. Okay. All right, so this here is the before and after of AT 105, which is now used as the main lecture space for fire technology. On the right-hand side, you'll see kind of the before picture of the space, which used to house a computer lab. And on the left-hand side, you see the newer, larger format lecture space that can accommodate the 40-person class size for the fire academy, with the room having a 48-person capacity overall. This was previously about 25-person computer lab, so it provided a large format space for the increased size for the fire tech program. All right, so next is a space that's now used for welding technology. It was previously an older computer lab that wasn't currently being utilized, and we since updated the space to be a lecture space for the welding program. And the nice thing about this space is there's double doors that go right into the welding lab. So we opened those up. They were previously boarded up, and now there is a lecture space that's attached to the welding lab, and there's a tray of laptops in the back where students can work on CNC designs in a supervised area rather than having to go to a separate computer lab. And then they can bring their designs right into the welding lab to be cut out on the CNC machine. So here, this space is now used. It was also previously used for automotive technology, but it used to be two smaller classrooms, formerly Applied Technology 128 and 132. There was a dividing wall placed many years ago that we removed, and it was expanded into a larger classroom to better accommodate the class size of automotive technology. And it also now houses the electric vehicle simulation trainers. In the middle top is a picture of one of our hybrid electric vehicle trainers where students can practice those high voltage simulations in a safe manner where there's not high voltage going to the vehicle. All right, so next we'll take a look at the various grant activities over the past year. So this applied category, these are funds that have been applied for, but we have not yet heard back on. So that's the second round of the Rebuilding Your City Infrastructure Funds, which are a subset of funds that were set aside from Strong Workforce Funds. These pending funds are funds that have been awarded, but we are awaiting a formal grant award agreement. And that is one of the Song Grant Awards for our nursing department. The awarded category, this has funds that have been formally awarded over the past year. And the funds in the closeout complete / in progress are funds that are either have been fully closed out in the past year, or we're currently in the process of closing these out with the funders and providing final reports, both fiscal and narrative. Next slide. So next we'll take a look at some of the collaboration partnership efforts that we have been involved in. So during this past fall, we were able to pilot a course through Contract Education that provides individuals with forklift operator certification. And again, this was in collaboration with our contract ed department. So using local resources, and we had an existing employee who is an approved forklift trainer, and we were able to develop and deploy that course and have 13 individuals. So it's first session, and I think we have another one planned sometime this spring. And as I mentioned previously, we facilitate a monthly check-in with our county workforce development partners. And this is a very important partnership for many reasons, and it helps us to maintain an open line of communication between us, so they can bring anything to us, and it also helps just initial collaboration efforts as well. And so during this past year, we've been able to collaborate with our K-12 partners through providing letters of support for the K-12 Strong Workforce application process. We were able to provide 9 letters of support to various schools, And they span from Delmore to Fort Bragg. And Fort Bragg, have reached out to us to partner regarding, alignment with our welding program, since the college in their service area, which is didn't have a welding program, so that provided us a unique opportunity to collaborate with them. Next slide. All right. So regarding building capacity within the grants department and the institution, we worked on streamlining the process to evaluate and review grant opportunities that are brought to us. This is done through the new preliminary grant assessment process, and that works to get district buy-in prior to the development of an application. And that way we can ensure alignment of district priorities with the application. And we're actively working on building out the website to further act as a resource for the campus community and to better highlight the ongoing projects that we're involved in. And right now we have that preliminary grant assessment form and process listed out on the website. So we offer a lot of hands-on project management for many of the funds that are under the grants umbrella, specifically around our career and technical education coded programs. And those historically have fallen under the strong workforce improvements funds and just provide from A to Z support for those programs. We've also created and are continually refining the process for when subawards are included in grants, where we would need to be the fiscal agent and pass through funds to a partner entity for a specific portion of the grant for objectives to be completed. So that's something we've been working on in the past year. And that concludes what I have for you guys. Any questions?
Any questions? Trustee Rice?
I have a question. What the workforce development partners, who is there, what's that or what? I'm just curious about this, Trevor.
Morning.
Yeah, so currently those are the Humboldt County Workforce Development Coalition. So there are our county partners that they manage like the wheel funding for the area, and we submit our programs to them through the Cal Jobs system, which puts our programs on the ETPL list, which is the eligible training provider list. So that provides additional funding to students who are eligible and enrolled in those programs. So it's a funding source of last resort. So it could help a student get brakes on their car or different things. So that's just one of the things that we've been working on with them, but they're our local workforce development board for our region.
Any questions? I just think I always enjoy hearing about some of our career technical education programs that I don't know much about. And really, it's such a great use of money to just expand the size of classroom space, which builds your program, brings you forth to the classroom. That's really good.
Thank you.
Anything else? Trustee Biggin?
Yeah, I appreciate you reaching out to the Climate Trinity campus. I think the forestry field pilot project is really exciting for them. I know they use the Firehawk to have a good community meeting and Poplar to introduce it to the community to get further community support. And again, I just appreciate that effort on the college's part. Thank you.
I think the spring is doing all my work stuff. I see too. So a lot have to do there.
Thank you very much
Thank you.
for the work and the presentation.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to item 7, organizational reports. And we begin with the academic senate and President Berger.
Good afternoon. I've given you guys my written report. I don't have anything to add unless you have questions.
Trustee Biggin.
I have a question. That was quite a bit of homework to do through your written report. I'm gonna turn this on. What would the key takeaways be that you would like trustees to focus on within that report?
From the white paper. I guess just being aware of the statewide conversation around the importance of counseling faculty in community colleges, particularly because we serve a demographic of students that have high needs. And counselors and play a really important role in that. But for various reasons, the hiring of counselors is not exactly with the 50% rules and the different things that go on. There's some things that happen that may affect how that is handled. And so some colleges at the local level make decisions to utilize paraprofessionals in place of counselors. And so it's kind of just important for everyone to be aware that this is a statewide conversation, and that CR should think carefully about how we want to address that.
Thank you.
As a former counselor.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm fine.
Yes. 7.2 CRO, President Eric Kramer. Welcome.
Sorry, I'm getting over something, so trouble hearing me, that might be the reason why. I'm sure some of you read the report, but I'm gonna read it anyway, just because I'm here. I'm a human, that's what I do. Anyway, so thank you, Board of Trustees, for having us on your agenda. Several of us from CRFO recently traveled to Sacramento for the Fact, Advocacy, and Policy Conference. The main purpose of the conference is to visit with legislator offices. We met with staffers Ignacio Castillo from Chris Rogers' office and Marco Martinez from the mayor's office. Our discussions ranged from budget priorities to the impact of AI. We also talked about AB 1171, a bill that puts a stronger guarantee on the fund for associate faculty healthcare that has passed the Assembly and is currently making its way through the Senate. And we talked about the continuing impact of AB 1705 on our students. Thank you again for having me. You know if there's any questions.
Can you tell us briefly what the content of the continuing impact of 1705 is?
So some of our concerns are that we have students who are like first time college students that come in. They're being told like, hey, you're below college level on English. You need to do like in our case, we're doing like cohort support models, but the students then drop out because they're facing like, you know, maybe 10 plus hours a week of math and another 10 plus hours a week of English in their first semester or within their first year, as the case may be. And those students in some cases maybe drop before census, they don't get measured, they're essentially barred out of higher education and we don't even notice. And that's kind of the message we're trying to bring to this at the state level, is to recognize that a bill that was meant to serve equity is in fact doing the opposite.
So, yeah. So, is there a solution being needed to fix this?
This is a very unfortunate one from what we've heard in Sacramento. Nobody wants to author a bill that would undo AB 1705 until Jackie Irwin turns out and was the original author of AB 1705. And apparently this is just how politics works. The way it's been explained to me, and I'm frustrated. I've seen other people that they're expressed similar frustrations, like, hey, come on, this thing's really not working out and we can't do it. But apparently when you have somebody who's that well regarded, you know, in that political community, in a sense, it can be difficult to do anything until they're no longer in the position. And then there does seem to be some eagerness from some of our, like I think a few years ago, we were trying to find like a bill author who would possibly help us to try to write some legislation that would overturn some of the more disastrous aspects of AB 1705, but that's kind of what we were met with.
When does Irwin turn out?
It's coming soon, but it's either 1 or 2 years from now, I think. I might have to.
Thank you.
Trustee Dragon.
So in the past, there was the remedial classes, like the English 1A and then the classes.
Yes, indeed.
So that also discouraged students because
Yes, it did.
they'd have to go through, 3 classes sometimes to get up to English 1A. And sometimes they drop out before that. So it's kind of like, you know, this fine line between which way do you go.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to say there's like a swing pendulum here that at one point was one extreme and now it's at the opposite extreme. You might recall, we used to have, at least in the math area, we used to have a class called Path to Stats. I personally felt that was a very successful pathway, a very good leg up for students coming in below college level to prepare for a pathway, especially if they weren't going into STEM and they didn't want to go into that calculus kind of like pathway. You know, it was a very good class for getting them up to speed with the kind of math that they need to pass the kind of math class they need for their degree. But then this new law comes in and says, we're not allowed to offer that anymore. And so we're only allowed to work within this very narrow framework that is leaving some students behind.
So maybe something in between.
Something in the middle.
Maybe just one class that.
Yeah, and we were doing it before this law, we were doing it. I think English had a similar accelerated English course that they were offering at that time, but now we're not allowed to.
Thank you.
You again for having me.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for the trip to meet with them. Okay, 7.3 class president Rachel Wardsey.
She's on the Zoom.
Oh, good.
Hi,
Good
thanks for
afternoon.
having us. Thanks for having us on your agenda. I don't have anything to report today.
Okay. Any question on her skipping? I'm sorry, skipping lines. Thank you for being present. 7.4 management accounts, President Lee Dooley. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. You have my written report. I don't have anything to add, but I did want to point out honors of two of our members, one recent and one upcoming. Amber Kavanaugh, who is our Director of Community Workforce Development, was invited to deliver the keynote address at the Eureka City Schools annual Every Student Succeeding ceremony in February. And Sergeant Corey Watson will be honored with the Courage Award of the Sir Optimus International Eureka in March. We're very proud of them. Happy to take any questions.
Trustee George.
I just want to say I enjoy the photos.
Thank you, Amber.
Yeah, they're great.
Any other comment? Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Item 7.5, student trustee. Our student trustee is not with us today. Then we'll move to 8 on the agenda, our administrative reports. And first we will begin with President Flynn.
Thank you. If you have any questions about my, when I wrote my report, please do so. But I do want to add that we as a college have been talking about baccalaureate degrees from CR for at least 7 or 8 years. And I did enter an agreement with Dr. Tom Jackson years ago. And we agreed on which degrees that CR would offer in the future. And so that agreement led to, quite frankly, him instituting the baccalaureate of nursing back into their curriculum. So our focus for moving forward was really in healthcare. Is that our strategy was to make sure that we offered the right associate's degrees before we entertained the thought of offering the baccalaureate, to make sure that both we have the financial backing for it and we also have the facilities. So we are still planning, at least planning to offer a full 4-year degree in maybe 2 or 3 of the healthcare areas that you know that we're already pursuing. But also we're also looking at selective career education. And so we're actually trying our best to move forward. What you see changing in the state now is that in the past that we couldn't offer a baccalaureate unless the CSU agreed. And so what you recently saw was 3 degrees being offered, being forced through over the objection of the CSU. So what we're seeing is the attitude of the chancellor's office to push through regardless of what oppositions that we would have at the CSU and CAA. So we'll see how far this goes.
Yes, trustee Renz.
Is that over the objection of CSUs generally or the CSU that's in that geographic region?
Both.
Both.
Both. And on our region, it's just, when we want to offer microwave, it's just not in Humboldt that we have to worry about, it's also in Chico. So there are other areas of CSUs that have impacted. We might go into a second.
On the CSU issue, I think the proposed legislation is interesting in terms of focusing on impacted programs because that really removes the competition aspect. In my take on it, if you can't take any more students, then what's the problem with us also doing this kind of thing? But in many cases, maybe it wasn't necessarily that. So I saw that you're looking on for March 13th for this summary and recommendations about Pelican Bay State Prison. So will we?
On Friday the 13th. Yes.
So at a future board meeting, will we hear some more about how that's being worked out?
So yes, matter of fact, what I will do is, once I get the final report, Dr. Morton will talk about it. And I'll send an email out to the district about what the recommendations are. And which ones that I will accept and which ones I will not. Send an email out then to all the campuses. And then have a board report in probably April.
Great, okay, thank you. Trustee Warren?
I don't know if my fellow trustees are interested in that. I'd like to understand the different yards, A, B, and what makes them different. And maybe I don't know if I should ask for that at the end of the meeting or because you're gonna do an update to the board.
I am, what we're going to do is give a history of the program and what led to us taking the opportunity of reevaluating the program. So it's going to be the whole continuum of information.
So we'll understand what the difference between the different yards are.
We will explain it.
Okay, okay.
Anything further?
Yeah.
Thank you, President.
Absolutely.
8.2, Vice President of Administrative Services. William Morrison, thank you.
Yes, thank you. I did not have anything to add, but I would be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions from board members about this? Yes, trustee.
I just have a curiosity question here. Demolition begins August 1st, it's quite timely. When will it be finished? What's the anticipated completion for demolition?
From my understanding, we're anticipating a couple of months.
So will it run right into fall semester?
That is correct. So we'll have to take that into consideration. Hopefully we'll have good weather as well. That we always have to do that.
Okay, thanks.
We are, if I may ask, we are also concerned about the noise, especially science and the other programs. Sure, that there wasn't really an opportunity time to do this ideal time, but this is the best we can do. Right against the rainy season.
Anything else? Thank you. Next we have our Vice President of Instruction and Student Development. Morse.
Good afternoon. I have submitted a written report. I have nothing to add at this time, but I'm happy to entertain questions.
Any questions or comments? Trustee Rex.
I noticed the FFA field day the participation was up quite a bit. Was there a reason for that, or just kind of the natural ebb and flow, or any idea?
Probably a combination of things, transition from one of our ag leaders who used to be in high schools, now it's a full-time faculty member for us here at Club Blue Redwoods. So I imagine that has a little to do with it, as well as just the awareness of the field day and the positivity that it perpetuates for our community.
There's a neat day.
Great recruitment.
Yeah.
Okay, 8.4, Executive Director of College Advancement and the Foundation, Mr. Cloud. Welcome.
Good afternoon, trustees. To add to my report, we closed the scholarship application yesterday. We had a record number of students apply, 462. I think that's the highest we've ever had. So I'd like to thank Jennifer Johnston, as our new scholarship foundation coordinator, for her efforts. I think they're paying off. And just as a note, in my board report, I'll be attending the funeral of John Corbett this Friday. John was a longtime member of the foundation board. I worked with John 20 plus years ago up at HSU when he was in charge of the co-op. But a very good lawyer and always provided a good insight into law and finance. Very good charge. Any questions?
Trustee George?
Actually, my question was, how long was he on?
I don't know. Trustee Dorn, I'd have to go.
Oh, I was just, because it was.
It was quite a while. It was before I
Yeah.
arrived.
Yes,
Me too, actually.
yeah, I was thinking, yeah. 20 plus years,
Yes.
yeah.
If I may,
Yes.
I think would you please give the board an update of our meeting just last evening with our advisory committee.
For the rodeo advisory.
I think that was a good meeting. I would like the board to know how far we've come.
So summarize this as quickly as possible. It appears that the fair committee is not going to be able to provide racing with horses, and this was a reality over this last year. I think it's been fully accepted at this point. That leaves a big hole in entertainment for the fair. Fair being bumped up this year to the week of August 12th through the 15th. Our dinner and auctions 13th. Our rodeo coaches have been in conversations with the fair committee about the potential of holding a collegiate rodeo during the fair to kind of provide entertainment. It's now going to be missing since we don't have the racetrack going for over a week. So those conversations are underway. I think it's an exciting opportunity. And then it's just a matter of whether it really pencils out for this fiscal year or next fiscal year. But it definitely is a opportunity because they provide the structure for holding a rodeo. And that really makes a heavy lift a little bit easier to be able to have that in place. And so we're looking forward to those conversations with them and see how that proceeds forward.
So would we generate income from that, or the fair, or both?
That would be the hope, Trustee Petrani, between admissions, sharing in admission fees to fees that are paid to participate in the rodeo, to sponsorships that could be sold to support the specific collegiate rodeo at the fair. Those opportunities exist. The expense structure for running the rodeo is still being put together. So one of the things we need to do is pencil out the revenue and expenses side of the house I think from a community perspective, a PR perspective, a potential recruitment perspective, it makes a lot of sense. It's also one of those things that if you take on a new event, you want to home run it the first year, right? And then be able to leverage that going forward, versus kind of stumbling through it and trying to regain ground. So I think we're kind of navigating all those conversations right now, deciding what's really the best course of action. And if it does pencil out revenue wise, what does that look?
Sounds like a good idea for both entities.
Yes, I think it is an exciting opportunity, I think, for everybody.
I do want to add.
Yes.
Is part of our conversation last night at the advisory committee is not just singularly looking at this August as the rodeo, but how do we build rodeo into our counties going forward? So it's just not looking at this summer, but how do we build the momentum for future summer so it becomes part of our culture at home.
Right, because Del Norte County Fairs, I think the week before that,
Yes.
always has a rodeo, which wouldn't be a collegiate team event, but I assume individual members of the team, you know, could participate. Somehow we could promote that we have a rodeo team.
Exactly.
Rodeo program.
Absolutely. That's
And
our
then we'll be
plan.
sponsoring the rodeo up there this year as well.
That is happening.
So
Wonderful.
that's good
I'm
news.
sure
That
that was under discussion.
Yeah.
That'll be great. I'll be excited.
positions as well.
Trustee Dorn, did you?
So what impact do you think the fair being early and at the same time of the sports auction? Do you think it'll impact the sports auction at all, or?
I don't think it will necessarily impact giving to the auction. I don't think it necessarily impacts the selling of tables. From a organizational athletic department / fundraising department perspective in supporting the rodeo, yeah, it's a little challenging. But at the same time, it provides an opportunity to leverage both events off of each other. So to me, that's the plus side.
What I add to that, I realized last night that we will have to put some temporary monies in place to make sure that we have personnel to support the auction and the August 15th rodeo. Knowing that there's a finite pool of labor. And so if we want both events to be, as Marty said, a home run, then we will have to invest some temporary dollars in some temporary help to make sure this happens. It's important for both.
I just want to tell you, I love the Corsair car story. And some of the early struggles in getting it there and off the trailer and all of that reminded me of a wonderful movie called The Fastest Indian.
Oh, I
Yeah.
remember that.
A
Yeah.
very old motorcycling man from New Zealand who took it to the salt flats, and then
Yeah.
the same kind of troubles with no correct equipment, no backing, no. Anyway, I love the stories.
Anthony Hopkins.
Yes. Yeah.
Hard to sleep on.
Yeah, I very much appreciate Dean Johnson and all the faculty and staff were very excited about and supportive about getting involved. We've got another meeting this Friday with facilities to discuss where do we put it,
Yeah.
right? So where do we put it? Currently, we have a donor who's working on getting the body work done and the painting done, and Rex Bowen's helping with that. The building of some sort of structure over the car, so it's not in the rain 24/7 and doesn't rust out immediately. That's what's in discussion right now. So, you know, you're trying to come up with something that doesn't necessarily have to go through DSA. Whether that's truly possible or not, that's a whole nother conversation and then so.
Okay, trustee Jones.
Another topic in your report had to do with the library partnering with Wordcom Books to allow
Yes.
donors to give via a wish list. How can we help direct people there?
We'll make sure that you guys receive the link.
Okay,
Great.
And that was set up by Susan Gare. And so far going out and talking to community groups, they are all over that, especially the Arcata Sunrise Rotary. Once they figured out they can help the bookstore and CR at the same time, we already had like 6 books ordered during the meeting.
Yeah,
So
it seems like a
it
win-win.
was very much a win-win. I really appreciate both the library and the art department coming forward to try to build partnerships with the foundation. So we've had with the athletic department. It takes that teamwork to get some sort of lift off the ground and get all the staff in those areas involved. And in both those areas, they're very excited and they're putting forward their muscle, which is going to generate results. And frankly, it already has. So.
Marty, if I may ask you to send me a link and I'll send it to the
Thank you very much. That brings us to the end of our agenda. Are there any requests for a future agenda items or reports, information? We've talked about a couple of things that already are in the works. Is there anything else that trustees want to mention? Okay, with nothing further, we adjourn.